My name is Ray Whitaker. I'm going to read an edited short bio first so you can get a sense of me and who I am. And I'm grateful for this opportunity to be a part of the Last Saturday Poets. All writers and poets are writing out of the self. However, there are directions that the self speaks to that change. Now my writing is to put foremost in my work just who I am writing for. I intend on writing for the everyday man and woman. I firmly believe that poems need to reach into those everyday persons' pictures already existing in their minds and engage with those. This is where I aim to make a difference in my creative writing. I'm fulfilled when I see that my work is provoking thought in the readers, in the listeners. I have 5 books published and 2 chapbooks, and my work has been published in 14 different countries. I will have a second book coming out in November. That's the second one this year. I was a delegate to the 2025 Writers International Panorama Festival this past January, and I participate regularly with several Zoom poetic events worldwide. Among them, I've been spotlighted on a U.S. national poetry broadcast from Quintessential Listening Poetry Online Radio, The Fertile Minds out of India, featured poet on David Soros's Open Mic for Spoken Word Paris, and I participate with the New Eurekan Poets Cafe in New York City. I'll be reading 9 pieces today. And we're going to start off with a piece titled 3 Waterfalls. 3 waterfalls. Seeing them in winter, frozen mostly, a long, white, cascaded, soft shape is entirely different from the summer mountainside, when the strength of the water tumbling down the 1,400-foot peak brings the feelings of wetness home. That moisture becomes his thoughts, those moving almost dreamlike through the synapses of the brain, as the water cascades, becoming image after image, the movie behind the eyelids, one consecutive reel, thoughts connecting with the pictures there. A moist landing pool that is about to become speech. This mountain scrapes the sky with definition. Clouds are barely above it in the blue sky, shaped into the harsh ridgetops above the tree line, yet below it there are evidences of forests. Some removed by snowslides of avalanches, trees lying askew, mowed by God's version of a lawnmower. The lowest of the 3 waterfalls has not lost anything of its forceful downpour. A fine mist congeals at its base. Colors float in it, wafting one into another, moved by an invisible wind. The pool at the base is just out of sight, the tall pines covering the last passages. She is sitting on the creek bank there, where water has ended up as tributary to a roaring watercourse. The rocks on the bank her only seat. It is the place she goes to have a sense of herself and the questions she must debate the answers to inside her own ruminations. There are the necessary silences then, only interrupted by the arpeggios of water moving by, or elk talk, the trumpeting heard only faintly as far off as the answers she seeks. Thank you. This next piece is called Of the Lands of She-Bear. Actually, these next 3 pieces are from the book I published in April of this year. One of my poet heroes is N. Scott Momaday, and here's an epitaph from him. There is one story, and there are many stories in the one. in Scott Momaday. Not like there was no language to be understood, those of the shaping of the wind's desires. The she-bear looks with dread at our human words, placing her 2 feet sturdily, united with the ground, her face readable in the eyes and lips expressing. Chuffing, it is communication without language. That is understood in the manner of dread from we of the peoples, one of survival when confronted. Out of the directions of the many landscapes where one of us indeed, where the many of us have tread, during the something heard in our challenges. Often that distance, the line there is difficult to discern. Those horizons concerting reds and yellows in symphony as the evening fog is rising. Her den above, she-bear climbs the rising green slope, stopping to eat the succulent grasses and sledge. She digs the roots, massive paws scooping, making no conversation with the world. Thank you. This next piece is called Dream of the Woods and is from my book I published in April. The book is named Animals and is available on Amazon. Dream of the Woods. Eyes open, careful treading, wondering about while wandering about, walking through the woods with no apparent destination, not off towards the horizon or away from the dawn, just some place between living and dying. Brown-barked tree trunks, like those of the mighty tall pines. There's the green leaves, though not of a pine, more like those of a poplar or pin oak. In full summer growth, a trampled yellow grass on the path before me where I walk barefoot. Rounding a gentle curve betwixt taller grasses, a peacefulness here, with happy bird chatter, settling on my ears like a warm greeting among friends. Into a clearing in these thick woods, a space opening up like creation, fresh as birth, building in intensity like a poem developing. There in the middle, a 10-foot tall mirror with gold gilded frame all around, resting on a newly cut dais of fresh logs. The dominant character in this glade, full of life. Could have been a passageway, perhaps, a setting off into some place like Valhalla or Elysium, even heaven, but it was not that. No pot of gold at the end of the rainbow here, a mirror that has shone, dapper, enticing in sunlight, reflecting that what was before it, the vision of features and characters of the sentience standing. It began to rain. The water washes, coursing down the reflection in rivulets. Thank you. We're going to move into some more recent work now, and the next piece is called Warrior Loves a Dog. The fighter pilot remembers a sleek steel eagle flown so many times, no yelping, barking, just speed incarnate, dropping from inside clouds, strafing enemies there on the ground. Now, his eyes close slightly to memories serve. His hand rests lightly on rough collie fur. He and his dog sense they could be, just perhaps, are but one in the present and also in the past, bridging a love so absent in those red enemy skies. Thank you. Let's see here. The next piece is called Surrenders. And I I will pause here and say that I believe that poems should stand on their own, and I don't have a lot of conversation about each piece. But I will talk about this one afterward. This one's called Surrenders. As if in a dream, through the tossing and turning, green sheets and cover awry, there below the flying man were the soiled remnants of civil war. Saddled horses carrying men with stars on their shoulders, an officer aides nearby, swords on, handguns holstered, eyeing each other intently, having been enemies just seconds before. Two horses tethered to separate rails, their riders inside, agreeing to end the bloodletting struggle. Lee surrendered in 1865. Flying thoughts trailing, it is last night again, where the dream seems to take the symbols, all a metaphor without alliteration, for the passions of an earlier life, falling away into the air below. It is flight away from a fight, cruising away from those old ardors, no longer present, well, only in memories, a regarding of the memory of a memory of a memory. There's an updraft in the sky, bringing a white, effortless soar. The flying man surrenders old passions, delightful, fruitful, empowering, gaining a strength to fly longer, further than ever expected, in a life lived in the now. Thank you. I'm going to go back to a piece that was in the book I published in April. The title of it is Animals. And the piece is entitled Stories from the Before. There are a great many warriors, and the tales about them are about the steel. The shiny metal dragons flying, separating the wood. Gray metal whales cleaving the sea. Those steel armadillos dissevering the enemy. There are a great many renditions about the brave, who once having been fearful became fearless, facing enemies with found courage. My father was one of them. He flew the steel dragons dropping from the sky inside God's bubble, making the ground shake and those on it afraid of the fire from the sky. 3 great conflicts did he fly the steel dragons, girdling his iron underwear to be ready for the fight, carrying the fire to his enemies. There are many accounts of dropping out from clouds, silently falling earthwards, bringing terror to those bound to the ground, the hordes of Mongols dissolved. I have his blood in me, being of the warrior clan. Courage flows in my arteries. Resilience courses in my veins because of that. It is a joy to know this part of me. Because of that, I can look the bear in the eye. If I should die from it, that will be a good death. I will join the others from the before. Swiftly, when that occurs, the shared blood draws it nigh. My father waits for me there. We will see each other again and tell our stories of the earth. Thank you. These last 3 pieces are more recent. This next piece is called Water. The headwaters of the Rio Grande are roaring, full of snow melt, poured down from the high peaks, rivulets filling rocky watercourse ways, those filling small gorges in the high rocks, all of it pouring over cliffside, a waterfall white with beauty, falling 250 feet, leaving a wee rainbow of mist in the air. The Rio Grande flows its way to Texas, and here the headwaters are angry. Crossing this now is impossible, and a nose splashes and sprays from rocks, and a noisy roar as the churning water collides. Even Brother Moose, daring to cross, has trouble. The water could be the trouble with the constructs of men. Anger, trepidation, buffeting, thundering. The mountain gods voice their opinions with lightning. Strong winds tug at the trees. The Native Americans say, we are the water. It goes well beyond a wet, beyond a feel of humidity, to the forests, the trees, the animals. And even when we are laid to rest in the earth, the flow continues as the earth gladly accepts us. Everything returns in a cycle as old as time and ends up in the rainwater falling. Thank you. I wrote this next piece maybe a week ago. It's called Eggs. Dreaming about them, they are everywhere, unharvested, lying in nests sat upon by hens, hundreds of eggs, brown, white, blue, and green, being sent to gather them, filling another several baskets with them, and wondering why there are so many. To be gathered, hatched, used, the dreams knowing that the potentials, a growth into creating, of bringing forth, needs to be. Now there's a brilliant energy in this room, in the dream, covering a song right on. Amazing guitar work from two guitarists I respect, whose virtuosity places me in some sort of reality driven by ears and dreamt into the space of creativity. Hearing Miles Davis, his later records, that forward-thinking musician placed into the world, steaming hot, new directions in small ensemble jazz. Untraveled, unheard by music lovers worldwide, nonetheless a divine sort of spark, pleasing and beyond, needing to exist, influencing musicians coming along in future, and driving literary efforts while writing to it. How does it feel so far, this gathering of potentials? The eggs are symbols of service. How to have fun with it in the just doing, about writing a poetry for a future, of serving the greater good, more than only oneself, and influencing a global space for the words, the verse, the metaphors, the alliterations. How do you feel about it? Are you flowing with it yet? Have you gathered all the eggs? Are your sparks creating empowerment? Thank you. I'm going to end with this piece that was inspired by a trip into Colorado, in the mountains of Colorado. It's called Endless Range. This set of mountains moves west and wester still until they move north and south, following the 6 directions. Their crags speak to the sky of the events below, and all the rocky languages poorly understood by those of us bound to 2 feet. Caressing the earth in moccasins, he, or was it she, looks about the craggy heights for a handhold in the pegamite faces of canyons, the reds and blacks of the moist deeps, those purples of sheerness keeping the less adventurous at bay, coming down into the valley below the gorges of distance, barely seen. She, or was it he, knows that often yonder reaches there might just be a place in that bigness to drive their thoughts to. An abandoned two-story ranch house sits still, its invisible solitude, quiet now of children's voices, hand-split shingles on the roof to still keep the weather out. Both the harsh winter snows and warm summer rains don't touch the singularity of a dry interior, as if waiting for the family to return from where they disappeared to so long ago. That ranch house perched on the mountainside has the cookhouse and porch attached, where a descendant has placed new tin over it, then left it again. And there, under that, is the place where the questions may have gotten answered, and maybe not. Perhaps just having raised those inquiries into the meanings of the lives lived under the eaves. Thank you for listening. The Endless Range piece was inspired by a two-story ranch house that was abandoned, as mentioned in the poem, and it's found south of Kremmering in central Colorado in the mountains, and the view was incredible, and that's what inspired this last piece. And thank you all for listening.